Welcome to the Member xCite presentation. This is a chance for members to increase their profile amongst the businesses here and online. It's not a sales pitch, but a 10-minute insight into your field, a business innovation, or interesting area of your life. The concept is to provide great content that's helpful or interesting to the audience, and members are welcome to apply to present an xCite across any of our events, as well as our Facebook Lives, reaching audiences of over 10,000, building your brand credibility, and exponentially growing your business. Ladies and gentlemen, your xCite presenter today is Marc Nuss from Destiny Rescue. Marc is going to be sharing with us on the dark side of COVID. It is 3:30. Anticipating the afternoon crowd who frequent his small store just in front of his house, Edwin fires up the fryer to make sure the oil is hot enough to cook with. Behind him is his family, his wife sitting idly by the door frame, his 2.5-year-old son playing. From the outside, this might look like your average Filipino household, but this family is far from normal. Edwin sells pornographic materials on the internet, videos of him molesting his son. Let me take you into the dark side of the corona pandemic's consequences that gets very little coverage. Marc Nuss is a partnership manager for Destiny Rescue. Marc has carried a deep interest and compassion for the underprivileged and vulnerable for most of his life. Having 3 daughters of his own and experiencing firsthand the plight of young women caught in human trafficking, he is passionate about his role in Destiny Rescue and is determined to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marc Nuss.
I'll just quickly recap what we do at Destiny Rescue. And Destiny Rescue was an organization that was started over 18 years ago by a gentleman called Tony Kerwin, and he's still active. He's the head of the organization. And how the organization started, he was sitting in a bar in Thailand and overheard another guy just bragging how he was offered a child to have sex with. And having girls himself, it really impacted him. And basically he said, somebody's got to do something about this. And he went home and started researching and found out that this was a huge growing problem. And so Destiny Rescue was established. And now we're in 7 different nations. We've got some disclosed nations, and there's some nations we can't disclose purely because of political sensitive reasons. But what we do, in short, is we rescue, we restore, and we reintegrate. So when it comes to the rescues, we've got covert rescues and we've got raid rescues. Covert rescues is where we go, we've got our permanent undercover guys, and then they go undercover into bars, brothels, and the seedy places, and places even no tourists would even dream of going into. And we'll go into those places and look for children that have actually been trafficked into sex industry. We've rescued, we started counting our rescues from 2011 up till then. We were just very busy building up and expanding. But so from 2011, we started counting how many rescues, and so far up to date, we've rescued over 5,200 individuals. And then the other part I want to do also we've got another part of rescues, what's called raid rescues. And this is with over 18 years, we've built up real good contacts within different international federal agencies, including the Australian Police, Federal Police, and the FBI, and also even specific police agencies within the individual countries we operate in. And what we'll do is we'll gather information and we'll work hand in hand with them, and we'll set up a raid with them. And our undercover guys will be the ones where we basically get all the information together, build up a case. And with the raid rescues, we then, once a transaction's done where we've been offered a child and we've paid for a child, we take the child in our possession, is that the federal police agencies will then raid that premises. And what's great about the raids is the whole place gets closed down. We rescue way more individuals that have been trafficked, and and also the perpetrators are actually put into jail. So the raid rescues have really been increasing for us quite a lot. But now, to come back to the problem at hand at the moment of COVID, it's the World Labour Organization estimates that about 40 million people are have been trafficked at the moment. At the moment, we've got about roughly 40 million people that are in that in some form of slavery, and with children specifically. World Labour Organization guesstimates that about 1.2 million children are trafficked every year into sex slavery. And we've rescued at the Destiny Rescue as young as an 18-month-old baby up to past 18 years onwards. So, and in our different nations, some of our nations, the average age of our rescues are 10-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then some is about 14, 15-year-old. So from different nations, the ages will vary. But what's happening with COVID is the biggest problem for children getting themselves in that position is obviously poverty. And now what's really been happening is that because people have been restricted in what jobs they can do, and with the COVID pandemic, we can see an increase of people willing to take bigger risks and getting themselves more in riskier positions. And then you've also got children that have already been trafficked, where a lot of these organizations, crime organizations, have just gone further underground. And therefore, it's actually exacerbated the position these girls find themselves in. And our workload has really tripled. We've had to really scramble when all of this happened to really follow up with the existing leads. We had to find out where they've been moved to. Like I said, a lot of this has gone even further underground, and the World Labour Organization thinks we're basically going to be hit by a huge wave of trafficking because of the conditions COVID has created. And also another insidious thing that's actually started picking up is cyber, is the problem in cyber. So what happens there is either people get groomed through social media platforms and unexpectedly get drawn into a network where they can traffic them once they can physically get their hands on them. And also we found that with our cyber cases are really increasing. And I'll give you an example. The story that Matt kindly opened up with was one of our first cyber cases. And what happened is the British intelligence services notified us that there was a 2.5-year-old boy that was being utilized in a pedophile ring. And so what happened is they did a raid in England and on a known pedophile, and found on his phone material that referred to, material that was showing this child was being molested online. And unfortunately, what's been happening is now people can't travel, but they'll actually start nearly directing their own little mini movies on the dark web and instruct how a child has to be molested while watching it online. And I know it's pretty brutal, but that's what we face. And so anyway, long story short, with this specific child, they were sending his material of him being abused across the dark web. And we infiltrated, with the help of the National Bureau of Investigation in the Philippines. We infiltrated this dark website, got in contact with this stepfather who was doing this to his child, his 2.5-year-old son. And we built up a kind of a rapport with him, him thinking that we were a pedophile that wanted to travel from Australia into the Philippines to come and abuse his child. And then what we did there was, once we got contact, we organized with the British Federal Police and also with the National Bureau of Investigation in the Philippines. We actually set up a sting in a hotel in the Philippines, and I won't go too much detail of what we did in the background to get in that position. But anyway, this stepfather brought his son to us in a hotel, took money and handed over his 2.5-year-old son so that we could go and take him up and go and abuse him in the hotel room. And fortunately for us, the transaction went through. We got hold of the son, and then right there and then, the NBA, the National Bureau of Investigation of the Philippines, took him into custody. And the mother also was an accomplice, also got put in custody, and that boy was was saved from a scenario that none of us would even imagine happen. And unfortunately, this has really increased more and more. So COVID, although I know it's affected a lot of people in all areas, but it's also affected charities, like Lars will know. It's affected charities where people who used to give can't give. So if you can just keep that in mind for all the charities that you support, that they do need your money more so than ever in these times. And I just want to say, from our point of view, what's also happened is that we've got 20 raids that are just waiting to happen in the Philippines. And what's stopping it is finances. And these are urgent raids that we need to get going so that we can, while the kids have been moved already, but where we know where they've been moved, that we can go and rescue them. So anyway, I know this was short and sweet, but thank you so much for listening to me and not switching off and running to go and get a coffee. But yes, if you can please remember us at Destiny Rescue. And thank you so much. Hopefully you've learned something new about this. And I didn't mean to bring the mood down, but this is a reality, unfortunately, that we face. And it's a growing problem that we face. And the last point is the World Labour Organization guesstimates that about 25 million people have lost their jobs according to the COVID, because of the COVID pandemic. And that's just going to bring an avalanche of people that get themselves in a position to be trafficked once all of the restrictions are lifted.
Terrible stuff, isn't it? It's just horrible. So hats off to anybody involved in the industry like yourself and the police and all that. God, I just can't imagine that being my life. So hats off, amazing work you do. So hands together for Marc, everybody. What a terrific presentation. Certainly insightful. We do have some questions, Marc, so we've allowed some time for that as well. So we'll take 3 questions. But we've just lost one question, so we'll take 3 questions. And Maria's first. Thanks, Maria.
It's not a question. It's just I want to say thank you for being an extraordinary person to deal with those sorts of things. I couldn't do it, and I was just thinking how lucky we are that we have people like you who can, face those awful scenarios and help people in need where we can't. I just think it's amazing. Thank you.
No, thank you. And for us, it's not possible. It's truly a partnership. It's between donors, because we're 100% not-for-profit registered with the Australian government, but it's truly a partnership. And there's no way we can do what we do without wonderful partners as well. For me, those are heroes, or people that are working hard, and they're willing to dig into their own pockets to be able to help an organization like this. And for us, it's always about that one life. And why we call Destiny Rescuers, we rescue children that are in a position where all their dreams and everything has been shattered. And we're able to put them back in a place where they can pick their dreams and their destiny they desire. So thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Marc. Thanks, Maria. Any one last question, if anyone's got one?
I'd just like to add as well, thank you, Marc. That's one of the reasons I became involved with Hands Across the Water. Yes. Was because of, the stories that Peter Baines tells about, just the devastation in Thailand after the tsunami, and, how, it's just remarkable, what people like you do to help people less fortunate. We just don't realise, on a bigger scale, these things that are going on around us. So I mirror what Maria said in terms of, it's just pretty special, the work that you and people like you do. So good on you. It's actually made me reminded me of all the Hands Across the Water stuff. So thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Hands together once again for Marc. Thanks very much. Great presentation.
Thank you.